So what we're going to do here is talk through some vocabulary that comes through when we're describing an experiment. So we have this example here with chia seeds and weight loss. And they describe how they separate the groups and some different characteristics about the groups. So describing the treatment groups. So again, treatment groups are the groups that are actually receiving the treatment. In this case, the treatment is the chia seeds that they're providing to the groups. So for the treatment group, that's the group receiving the chia seeds. So group receiving 25 grams of chia seeds twice a day. And you could be more descriptive with who's in the group. In this case, it's going to be 19 men, 19 women. So you could add that description in there. Then describing the control group. So this is the group not receiving the treatment. So the group not receiving the chia seeds. But something that is happening with this group who's not receiving the treatment is they're being given a placebo instead. So this is the group receiving a placebo. And again, you could be more descriptive. This group also has 19 women and 19 men. Has blinding been used? So there's two forms of blinding. There's single blinding and double blinding. In single blinding, that's the case where the participants don't know which group they're in. So the idea being they don't know if they're receiving the treatment or the placebo. In double blinding, this is where participants and researchers don't know which group they're in. Ideally, we would like to be using double blinding because this eliminates a lot of bias that can come through. Really, if you're giving a placebo, you should have at least single blinding occurring. But double blinding is even better because it's been shown that researchers can kind of prefer the group or pay more attention to the group actually receiving the treatment. So it's best if no one knows. So for our scenario, it doesn't state specifically if it's single blind or double blind, but the idea that they're using a placebo lets us know that it's at least single blind. So that's all we can know just based on the fact that they're actually giving a placebo. And has a placebo been used? Yes. They told us a placebo is being given to the groups. If we didn't have any blinding and we were using a placebo, it kind of defeats the purpose of a placebo. So if you have this group taking a placebo and they know, it's not going to let that placebo effect take place. Has random assignment been used? So this is asking if the two groups were randomly assigned, and yes, it was. In our description, they told us they made the two groups randomly, which is very, very important because we want to eliminate any sort of lurking variables and create good diversity between the two groups. Has blocking been used? So blocking is where we separate the original group by some factor. So in this case, there was a separation at the beginning in that we talked to 38 men, 38 women, and then from there made the control and treatment group. So there was this initial separation of gender. So has blocking been used? Yes. And the factor that they used was by gender. So sometimes they do this to make sure maybe an even placement of gender between the two groups, like we have this even distribution of 19 women, 19 men. So maybe they want to investigate difference between gender as well with the effect of chia seeds. What is the response variable? So this is what we're measuring. So what they're interested in here is they were looking at the effect on appetite and or weight loss. So with this, kind of depends. This kind of has an open-ended answer. You could be trying to measure appetite, which you could do with like maybe how many meals they eat in a day, or you could track like the calories they eat in a day. that could measure appetite. And then in terms of weight loss, maybe they were just tracking the actual weight of the participants. So with that, they could measure pounds that were lost across the whole study. And then our last piece here is, can we generalize the conclusion to the population at large? So here we're talking to just 38 men and women, but can we extend this to all men and women? So that's our population of interest here, is all women and men. And what we're trying to get at here is, can we state cause and effect? Which in this case, they didn't find a significant difference. So you'd be saying that chia seeds does not cause weight loss or appetite loss or anything like that. And we just want to be very careful with that. And what we need is a very well-designed experiment. And we have all of these pieces that are great. We have our two groups. We used blinding, we used a placebo, we used random assignment. Blocking makes it even better. Having all of those pieces, we can get at causation. We can state cause and effect here and not have to worry about too many lurking variables. So maybe what we'd end with here is that chia seeds don't cause weight loss. Something like that. The only thing we might want to be worried about here is, where did these men and women come from? Were they randomly found across the United States or across the world? Because maybe if they were found in too close of a group, there would be a lurking variable coming from that. But the fact that they took them and then randomly divided helps out the cause for causation. So these are the pieces that'll make a very good, well-designed random experiment, so then we can get at cause and effect.